Welcome to Running the Table, the podcast where we run through everything on the table in the world of college basketball. Been a busy week or so we're running behind, and today's going to be a bit different. A double recap and mostly discussion form. Two different games, two very different, almost opposite outcomes. But without further ado, let's run it. First matchup we're talking about here is, of course, Purdue's matchup with number 10 Iowa State that ended in a whopping defeat with the final score of Iowa State 81, Purdue 58 in Mackey Arena. The first one, half of this one was actually a battle. Neither team looked fantastic, with Purdue able to turn over Iowa State more than usual, and Purdue not really hitting their stride on offense either. But the Mackey crowd and Purdue's interior game kept them in it until halftime, where we were down 35 to 31. I felt like we were in for the gritty defensive battle that we thought we might see with two teams that have great offenses but also stingy defenses, even though the Cyclones are much more of the elite defensive team. But now the question is, what changed after halftime? For me, it felt like a couple of different things. First of all, Iowa State came out hot. They couldn't miss for the first couple minutes of the second half, and Purdue was unusually cold for a team that seems to thrive in the first 5 minutes of the second half, typically. Once that run started for Iowa State and Purdue just couldn't get shots to fall, it was the beginning of the end. Speaking of shots, it was a rough shooting game all night for Purdue. The Cyclones made things very difficult on Braden Smith with their unique ball screen coverage and forced him into 6 turnovers, the most he's had this season so far. They made it incredibly difficult for TKR to get in any type of rhythm, and even when he was able to get, pretty open shots that he typically would make, he just was thrown off. And when it came to the three ball, we just couldn't hit anything, even when they were open. We ended up 4 for 18, good for 22% from deep. And Purdue was never going to be able to win this game without the three ball or without just being able to make shots in general. And in this game, it just quite frankly wasn't happening. It just felt weird to see such a poor shooting performance like this happen in Mackey. Typically, when Purdue struggles shooting, you're on the road, different location, different arena, different rims. But in Mackey, we just couldn't hit anything. But I think some of that happened because of the compounding pressure of another slow start, a defense that made our sets very hard to run, as well as our general action, like their different ball screens, and the continued inability to knock down shots. Painter himself said in the postgame that Iowa State, quote, took our souls. And they really did deflate Purdue in a way that I was not expecting to see out of such a veteran group. It was definitely frustrating and disheartening to see, but I, like Painter, have to tip my cap to Coach Otzelberger and Iowa State because they did exactly what they wanted to do in that second half. Their game plan was pretty simple, but very well executed. Take away what Purdue does best on offense, run the pick and roll, and force them to beat them somewhere else. The big key was that Purdue struggled massively in that somewhere else, or anywhere else for that matter. And I just expected them to show a little bit more resistance than they did. The shot making, the adapting to different kinds of pressure, the turnovers, it was all just bad, and that's how this game got completely out of control. On the other end, they attacked Purdue's defense very well, mainly just hit their open shots and when they got them, but they broke us down off the dribble, navigated post doubles pretty well for the most part, and Cilovic was just insane with his shot making. Even when we handled them pretty well defensively on any given possession, all it took was him getting the ball in the mid post and pulling some Dirk fadeaway. It was more salt on the wound, just feeling like we couldn't stop them no matter what we did, because they just shot the lights out. No matter what the shot was open three, contested three, those mid ranges by Momcilovic. I mean, it was all falling. So again, hats off to them. They played like the much better team that day. But heading into that next game, this was the bounce back that Purdue really needed, with a final score of Purdue 85, Minnesota 57. The one thing that's interesting about this is that it wasn't the bounce back that I personally expected, especially the start. This one was once again way too close in the first half, as Purdue did not come out with the fire I was hoping they were going to after getting their asses kicked the game before. It wasn't until the second half where we turned everything on and dominated all facets of the game. One of the ways we did dominate was rebounding, and we just killed them on the glass. Even in the first half, we were able to give ourselves some more chances since we missed so many shots, but it was the second half where we really found our home in the paint. That meant easy buckets for TKR and Clough, with both guys getting offensive rebounds, and Jacobson coming in for a couple of lobs of his own. The rebounding battle ended up 46 to 23, with Purdue literally doubling their team rebounds, and that made such a big difference in that massive second half run. Another massive boost on both ends was Braden Smith's defense. He was incredible on and off ball this game, ending up with 5 steals and 2 blocks, which is incredibly impressive for his height. And not only did he do so well on the defensive end, but that also helped continue to spur that second half run, getting out in transition, getting easy shots, easy buckets, and keeping Minnesota on their heels firmly. But for his defense, I think he just turned it up a notch in this game. And once he saw that these guys weren't too confident and he could throw them off balance more, it just gave him more confidence to attack more and take slight risks going for some of these steals. It's really nice to be able to put CJ out there as the main on-ball defender, but also know that you have a guy like Braden who can turn it on and have another super active defender with amazing instincts to get in passing lanes, pick pockets, and sneak up behind guys as they're driving and take it before they even know he's there. He did that multiple times in this one. But speaking of that second half run earlier, we got to talk about how Purdue completely broke this game open. The big catalyst after halftime was literally just focusing offense in the paint. We got both TKR and Clough going early in that second half, which caused Minnesota to try to switch into a 2-3 zone, which only opened up more threes on the outside that we actually knocked down. All the while, Minnesota just couldn't get a good shot off almost at all because they were facing Purdue's set defense pretty much every possession. Before you could really process what was happening, Purdue had gone on a 29-2 run, and this game was basically over 10 minutes to go in the second half. Another facet in that big run was the threes that I mentioned that we got to fall, but specifically the fact that those threes came from a multitude of guys, and it was a great confidence boost to see them knock a couple down. You got one out of Jakari Harris and Omer Meyer off the bench, even though they missed a couple others to get that make to fall, and Liam Murphy came in and knocked down his only three. It just looked so pure as he did it. Our role players are the massive difference maker in this team, and the guys who stepped up and contributed in this one were just the ones that couldn't really help us make a big difference in that Iowa State game. And this was a team win and a total team dominance in the second half, and that's the Purdue team that I know. But Purdue's next matchup is against a familiar non-conference foe in Marquette, as they come to Mackey this Saturday at 2 p.m. to try to get a statement win to help their very struggling season. But that's all I've got for today. Very quick episode. We're going to try to keep up and recap as many of these games as I can. I apologize for missing those two there, but most importantly, want to enjoy the upcoming holiday season with family, and I hope everyone else does the same. But stay tuned for more recaps and potentially the return of Boom Buster Believable. And let me know your thoughts on this different recap format in the comments below. But if you want more from us, like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, I'm out.